I always believed I had raised a strong son, but nothing prepared him for the day a security guard told him he wasn't his own wife's husband. She pauses, letting the weight sink in, her eyes narrowing in memory. Elias had been carrying lunch, a simple gesture of love for Penelope, a surprise, an act of tenderness. The guard's laughter cuts through the moment. I see her husband every day. Here he is now. Time fractures. Elias freezes, the bag of carefully packed food pressing against his chest. His heart punches against his ribs, disbelief making every second stretch. That was the day my son's heart cracked, but his mind sharpened. She lets a small silence linger. Elias ducks behind a potted palm, every muscle taut, every thought a desperate scramble. Elias doesn't move. The office hums around him. People walking, phones ringing, but he exists in a separate, cruelly slowed world. Another man stands where he should be, a shadow in the frame of his life. Revenge didn't happen immediately. That's not how my son works. He studies, he plans, he waits. The betrayal is raw, the humiliation complete. Elias clenches his fists, food forgotten. His chest tightens, throat dry. He glimpses Penelope at her desk, unaware, unbothered, radiant in the very way that used to make his stomach flutter. Curiosity tightens its grip. If you think the guard's words were the worst part, oh, you don't know Penelope Beaumont. Grandma's eyes glimmer, hinting at the story to come. There's shame, there's fear, there's disbelief, and she makes sure the audience feels all of it. Elias hugs himself behind the potted palm, heart hammering. He watches the other man, the imposter of his own life. He doesn't shout. He doesn't confront. He doesn't move. Before I tell you what happened next, subscribe. Some betrayals hide in plain sight. The words hang heavy, a warning you can feel. Missing this story could leave you blind to the quiet betrayals hiding in the lives you trust. Then she lets the scene settle. Elias, behind a plant, the world moving around him, and the other man, an intruder in everything he thought he owned. Grandma closes the segment. He was about to learn just how far love could bend before it breaks. A pause, a breath, and then the story waits, demanding that viewers lean in, hearts racing, minds questioning. Grandma leans back, memories swirling in her eyes. Elias, gentle giant, always building birdhouses in the yard, humming softly to himself. A man who could lift a tree trunk with ease, yet tremble holding a newborn in his arms. She speaks of him not as a legend, but as a son and father. His laughter fills Providence home, a sound that echoes in the corners where Willow and Quentin now play. Penelope enters their story like sunlight in a quiet room. Charismatic, ambitious, magnetic, she made her way into Elias's life, and soon into his heart. Grandma recounts their first days together. The stolen glances, quiet dinners, evenings filled with promise. I noticed her eyes change before my son ever did. She says softly, almost as if confessing a worry she couldn't voice at the time. The children arrive. Willow with her mother's eyes, Quentin with Elias's stubborn chin. The house hums with life, love, and the fragile sense of peace that only family can create. Grandma's tone shifts slightly, tinged with unease. Penelope climbed. From COO to CEO, each step lit by ambition. My son, he stayed home. He chose his family over the boardroom battles. She emphasizes a contrast, Elias nurturing, Penelope conquering. The children's laughter mingled with boardroom announcements, milestones shadowing the quiet corners of their home. Have you ever watched your child love someone who didn't deserve them? She asks, looking straight into the camera. Her questions pull the audience closer, building empathy, stirring personal reflection. Family life continues, predictable in its routines, yet Grandma's narration hints at tension beneath the normalcy, small cracks in smiles, subtle shifts in affection. We've all seen a family that looks perfect on the outside, and yet the truth waits patiently like a storm at sea. Grandma focuses on sensory details, the warmth of the morning light in the kitchen, the scent of Elias's coffee, the subtle sigh of contentment after breakfast. These small moments become markers of love, grounding the audience in the family's reality before the looming fracture. She emphasizes Elias's quiet awareness, the intuitive sense that his world is subtly shifting. I noticed small changes, the way Penelope's eyes avoided his, the faint tension in her voice when she spoke to the children. He didn't see it at first, and that's the danger trust. Grandma's words gently foreshadow the upcoming betrayal, making viewers emotionally invested in the family and rooting for Elias. Every detail, his gentle strength, her ambition, the children's laughter, is set to heighten the eventual shock. The section closes with a sense of calm before the storm. The audience knows the family is on the edge of upheaval, even as the home radiates warmth and life. At first, it was just distance. Small things. Cold mornings, distracted smiles. Elias noticed her phone, never left her hand. Weekend became a different story. She was never home when the children expected her. She recounts the subtle cracks, the way Penelope would call herself a children's caregiver in passing, almost laughing, almost dismissing Elias. Her ambition increasingly occupied her mind and her time, while the warmth in her gaze toward Elias dimmed. "Would you have ignored the signs like my son did?" she asks, voice heavy with warning. Each sign seems minor on its own, but Grandma emphasizes how these small shifts accumulate, like a hidden weight pressing on love. The decline intensifies. Grandma describes Elias's growing unease as she details concrete examples. Weekend absences that were explained as team dinners, secretive phone habits, disappearing calls, hushed messages, the casual dismissal of his efforts at home. Then there was the watch receipt incident. Penelope returned with an unfamiliar purchase, claiming it was a corporate gift. Elias's instincts whispered otherwise. There was one receipt, one she could never explain, Grandma says. Her pause lets the audience imagine the implications, the tension building naturally. Every detail paints Elias's world as shifting beneath him. Grandma captures his internal struggle, love versus suspicion, hope versus despair, without forcing melodrama. Grandma closes a section with the emotional weight of Elias's slow realization. The house felt quieter, even when filled with laughter. The smiles became polite, the touches mechanical. He loved her, yet he couldn't shake the unease that grew like a shadow in the corners of their home. The tension tightens as she warns viewers. Trust can erode invisibly, and the signs often appear too late. If the first cracks seem harmless, they rarely stay that way, she murmurs, leaning in closer. That morning, Elias read the article praising Penelope's $50 million deal. Pride should have surged in his chest. Instead, there was a hollow ache. The woman he loved had conquered a world he could not touch. She describes him stirring the morning coffee slowly, each movement deliberate, almost ritualistic. Elias decides to cook Penelope's favorite lunch, a gesture meant to bridge distance. But her mood is elsewhere. She snaps at the children over minor details, her charm replaced by cold efficiency. If he had just stayed home, none of this would have happened, Grandma murmurs, tension threading her words. The audience senses Elias's inner conflict, love mixed with a sting of neglect, hope tangled with quiet resentment. Every small domestic gesture now carries weight, as he tries to maintain normalcy while sensing the fracture growing in their relationship. He noticed the subtle changes, how she avoided his gaze, the way her laughter rang a little hollow, the soft murmur of hushed phone calls. Each small detail pricked at him, a reminder that life was no longer as simple as it seemed. The children chatter around the kitchen, unaware of the tension. Elias forces a smile, serving breakfast, hiding the disquiet that gnaws at him. Even the smell of sizzling eggs and fresh toast cannot mask the sense of growing unease. Elias decides impulsively to visit her office. The choice is unspoken, urgent, a mixture of intuition and quiet desperation. Grandma narrates his internal calculation. He must see for himself, understand the distance between them, and finally confront the truth behind her rising influence. He walked out the door carrying lunch and a heart full of questions. Grandma explains. Every step toward that office felt like walking a line stretched thin above a chasm. The city hums around him, unaware of the storm brewing, in a single man's chest. Each stride, each glance, intensifies the anticipation. Grandma's narration emphasizes both suspense and emotional resonance. Elias is acting as protector of his family while bracing for betrayal he fears. The tower loomed above him like a fortress. Glass and steel reflected the city, sharp and unforgiving. Inside, the hum of efficiency filled the air. Footsteps, phones, quiet chatter, but Elias felt only a suffocating stillness around him. He approaches a reception desk, carrying the lunch he had prepared, his hands steady but heart pounding. Every detail registers. The polished floor, the glint of his reflection in the glass, the distant murmur of office life. Then the guard, Luther, glances at him with thinly veiled amusement. "Sir, I see your husband every day." The guard says casually, "There he is now." The words land like a hammer. Elias freezes. Grandma emphasizes his internal collapse, shock, humiliation, disbelief, but keeps the narration cinematic, not melodramatic. Elias ducks behind a large potted plant, breathing shallow as he observes the other man, a stranger wearing the identity of the life he thought was his. He watched the man move with ease, laugh as if he belonged. Every second tore at the edges of Elias's world. The life he built, the love he nurtured, it fell hollow. Elias grips the bag of lunch, the scent of the carefully prepared food now bitter in his memory. He cannot act, cannot speak. The humiliation wraps around him, tight and inescapable. "Most people don't know how quickly a marriage can vanish," Grandma whispers, letting the words sink in. The audience feels the weight of betrayal. Grandma teases the next revelation. Elias's response is not immediate but deliberate. Every small gesture, every observation, is stored in his mind. He is no longer reacting. He is strategizing, though the plan has yet to take shape. Then, subscribe now. If you don't, you might never see how power destroys trust. It's under 14 words, fear-based and guilt-tripping, tied directly to the shocking revelation. Elias drops the lunch into the trash, the gesture both symbolic and silent. He retreats further behind the plant, observing, calculating. Grandma captures a quiet horror. He could no longer see the man as a stranger. He saw what was stolen, what was claimed, and what was lost. The betrayal was complete. His world, once familiar, now fractured into sharp, jagged pieces. The office continues around him, indifferent. Every detail, the distant phone rings, the hum of conversations, contrasts with the storm in Elias's chest. But what he did next shocked even me. The phone rang, and I knew before I even answered. It was him, my son. His voice, shattered, almost unrecognizable, cut straight to the kitchen, through my chest. Elias's words tumble out in broken fragments, revealing the depth of his shock and humiliation. Grandma listens carefully, heart aching, every syllable resonating like an alarm bell. He didn't know where to start. Everything felt wrong, stolen, and suddenly fragile, she murmurs. Grandma instinctively understands the stakes. Penelope's position as CEO and the power she wields makes confrontation dangerous. The betrayal is personal, but the repercussions extend far beyond the family home. I told him, do not confront her. Do not show emotion. Do not alert her to what you feel. She explains the reasoning clearly. Penelope has resources, influence, and eyes everywhere. The advice is stern but protective, ensuring Elias can act with control rather than impulse. Have you ever had to give your child advice you wish you never had to? Grandma asks. Her eyes hold the weight of experience, letting the audience feel the gravity of the moment. She continues to emphasize patience and observation. Elias's heartbreak is real, raw, and consuming, but Grandma guides him toward focus. The call ends with quiet understanding, a mother anchoring her son in a storm of betrayal, ensuring he has clarity before action. After the call, he wasn't a man who ducked behind a plant. He became patient, observant, careful. Every word she spoke, every action she took, was a clue. Every glance at her phone, every scheduled change, became part of a larger puzzle. Elias pretends normalcy at home, smiles at the children, and serves breakfast with calm precision. But inside, his mind catalogs details. He studies expense reports, travel logs, and old digital files, noticing patterns others would miss. Grandma emphasizes the patience required. He moved like a shadow unnoticed. Penelope never suspected he was watching, learning, understanding her world in ways she never imagined. Suspense builds as the audience realizes Elias is no longer reacting. He is preparing. The narrative frames him as careful, deliberate, and growing increasingly powerful in his quiet observation. Penelope forgot the one person who knew every password she ever used. Grandma notes, voice low. The audience feels the tension rise with each revelation. Elias pieces together her world methodically, understanding not just her actions, but the risks and leverage points. Suspense grows as viewers anticipate the eventual confrontation. Grandma asks directly, "What would you do if you found evidence like this?" It's a question that pulls viewers into Elias's moral and strategic dilemma, deepening engagement and investment. There was one transaction that changed everything, one that would alter the course of what I thought was inevitable. The details are withheld, building tension for the audience. Elias continues his calculated observation, preparing documents, compiling proof, and structuring a plan that could dismantle Penelope's empire without a single emotional outburst. Grandma underscores the stakes. He knew every strength, every weakness, every corner of her world, and she never suspected it. She walked in, suitcase in hand, perfectly composed, as if nothing had changed. My son greeted her with calm smiles, hiding the storm inside. Every step she took, every glance she threw, was calculated. She believed he remained unaware, innocent to her secrets. The children run toward her, laughter filling the space, unaware of the tension vibrating beneath the surface. Elias matches her demeanor, smiles, words, gestures, while observing every detail, filing each nuance into memory. She had no idea the man she dismissed was about to dismantle her empire, Grandma adds, letting the words hang, sharp and deliberate. Suspense tightens as viewers sense the dramatic irony. Elias is no longer passive. The seemingly normal reunion is charged with unspoken strategy and imminent confrontation. He acted like nothing had happened. Every laugh, every polite comment, every helping hand with the children was calculated. He became the perfect mask of normalcy. Penelope barely looks at him, absorbed in her business calls and notes. The contrast between her confidence and his quiet calculation is palpable. Grandma carefully avoids melodrama, instead highlighting subtle power dynamics and suspense. Elias's stillness is more dangerous than confrontation. Every move she made, every word spoken, was feeding the mind of the man she underestimated. The tension builds with every ordinary interaction. The mundane becomes charged, the familiar transformed into a battleground of observation and control. He knew her weak spot, and he was about to strike it. Elias files away her schedule, observes her interactions, notes the subtle cracks in her composure. The audience can feel the tension mounting. Small gestures, the flicker of hesitation in her smile, a pause before responding, become clues that guide his next moves. The quiet before the storm is always the loudest. He collected everything. Affection betrayed, financial misconduct, suspicious transactions, all sorted, documented, and ready to be revealed. Every file was a key, every detail a thread to unravel the truth. Elias moves with quiet confidence. He reviews spreadsheets, emails, and contracts, double-checking every number, every timestamp. Even minor irregularities become ammunition. Grandma emphasizes the stakes. Penelope's empire is massive, her influence deep. One misstep could jeopardize the plan, but Elias knows the risks. He understood the consequences. He wasn't just seeking revenge. He was restoring balance, Grandma explains. As he packs his briefcase, the audience senses the meticulous planning. Every document, every piece of proof, is selected to expose her indiscretions while safeguarding the children and his own integrity. Suspense grows as Elias leaves the home, stepping out into the world where power, ambition, and betrayal intersect. Elias entered Viridian Dynamics not as a visitor, but as a man carrying the weight of truth. The familiar, authorized personnel only sign did nothing to slow him. Each step echoed determination, silent yet resonant. He passes through reception, his briefcase heavy with the culmination of weeks of observation and discovery. Office employees glance up, oblivious to the storm about to hit their environment. But who he met inside and what he exposed, none of them were ready for, Grandma adds, pausing for effect. Comment, Justice. If you don't, you'll regret ignoring what happens next. The audience is now fully engaged, invited to participate, while guilt and curiosity intensify. Grandma continues to set the stakes. Penelope's empire is at risk, her carefully built defenses unaware of the strategic assault approaching. Elias's calm contrasts sharply with the potential chaos, heightening tension. He positioned every document, every piece of evidence, in a way that would leave no room for denial. Timing, presentation, clarity, all aligned for maximum impact. The office is quiet, unaware of the coming exposure. Elias reviews names, emails, and proof once more. Grandma emphasizes his internal control. Every action precise, every thought deliberate. He had nothing to lose and everything to protect, she says. And in that moment, his children's future rested on his composure. Elias stepped into the building with the confidence of a man who had nothing to lose and everything to expose. Every stride was deliberate, every glance calculated. The world around him continued unaware, as if waiting for a shift that had already begun. She details the contrast between his calm determination and the potential chaos he carries. His briefcase holds weeks of observation, proof of betrayal, and financial discrepancies. The weight of the moment is not in shouting or confrontation. It is in quiet control. In his silence, there was power. In his patience, there was inevitability. Grandma adds, letting the words resonate. The audience feels the tension tighten. The man who once hid behind a plant now commands a room without a single word. Every move she had made, every decision she thought was secure, now rested in his hands. Elias's knowledge of her weaknesses and missteps made him a silent storm, ready to unleash the consequences of betrayal. She paints the emotional stakes, his children's future, his dignity, and the unraveling of trust, but without revealing the confrontation itself. The stage was set for the ultimate public reckoning, Grandma concludes, her voice low and deliberate, leaving the audience holding their breath.